Hi, I'm Michelle Sterling for Friends of Science Society. One of the most important and perhaps most consequential consultations is taking place in Canada right now, and you probably don't even know what's going on. It's the public consultation for the country's 2030 carbon reduction plan, and this is a mandatory plan under the new Canadian Net Zero Emissions Accountability Act, and it was due to be released in late December. But the legislation allowed for a 3-month extension, and so Environment and Climate Minister Stephen Guilbeault announced last month that he was taking it. So what this means is there's been a 4-week period for you to consult with the government and give your thoughts on how you think we should try and reduce our emissions by 2030. And the objective of the reduction is to try and meet Paris targets that we've never met before. And the reason we haven't met them before? Well, of course, the climate community would say we're just climate laggards, that we haven't tried hard enough. But let me give you an insight. Between 1990 and 2019, Canada's emissions essentially flatlined. But in that same time period, population grew by 37%, mostly from immigration, because our fertility rate in Canada is only 1.6 children. So that means that every time we add an immigrant, we add a huge carbon footprint. Now, I'm in favor of immigration. My father was an immigrant to Canada. So this is not about people. This is strictly about carbon footprints. And the federal government is planning to bring 400,000 new immigrants to Canada in 2022. At the same time, they are planning to carbon tax you more, to impose the clean fuel tax on you, and then to impose whatever other measures come out of this consultation that you're probably not even part of. But if you look at the Energy Mix site, you'll find in the 1-month consultation period, Lead Now, which is one of those foreign-funded ENGOs that the Alberta Inquiry looked into, generated 5,250 responses as of this Sunday morning. And a newly formed group called Climate Messengers is offering a menu of options for potential participants. So they even have a little toolkit with sample answers that people can just cut and paste. Now, just imagine you've got this group of very well integrated, connected ENGOs and all of their followers who are bombarding the government consultation with their cut and paste messages. And what do they have the gall to say? They say the fossil fuel lobby has a large and well-organized group of individuals who oppose climate change action. If you look at the Deloitte report, you'll find that 31 of the top ENGOs in Canada, let me just look that up. 31 of the top ENGOs in Canada accumulated over $2.5 billion in assets. They received almost $900 million in foreign funding and got $2.1 billion from governments. So these already tax subsidized charities, because most of them are charities, got $2.1 billion from governments, meaning that your tax dollars are funding these very well integrated groups who are consulting and taking coordinated action to shut down your industries, to impose further carbon taxes upon you, and to make your life more difficult. In the meantime, the federal government at another level is planning to bring in 400,000 new immigrants to Canada this year, and each of those people will have a carbon footprint of about 16 to 17 tons CO2. So that means your life will be made harder, you will be made poorer, your jobs will be lost, and your entire lifestyle will be turned upside down in trying to meet these targets. And the government at the same time will be bringing more people, 400,000 more people, who will add to our carbon footprint, making it impossible to meet targets, and who will also require a lot of supports, economic supports, language supports, additional health care, housing, all those things that every person needs, especially when you come to Canada. And because it's a cold country, many of the immigrants who come here are coming from China, from India, from the Philippines. So when they get here, their carbon footprint is much bigger than it was where they originally lived, because it's a very cold country. So if you recall, over the past few weeks in the West, we've had incredibly cold weather. No one could have survived without oil, gas, and coal to keep us warm and to keep our lights on. And that polar vortex is now shifting over to the east of Canada. It'll be very cold there, and they too rely greatly on oil, natural gas, and coal to keep them warm, even though they like to say, oh no, you know, we rely on nuclear and we rely on hydro. They use a very substantial amount of oil and gas in the eastern provinces. So I think if you can, you should get online and post your own comments. You should get on the phone if you can to whoever you think could be influential in making your point of view known, whatever that may be. And you should question the fact that these coordinated efforts with cut and paste messages are constantly coming from these tax subsidized and tax funded environmental groups. That's your tax money being used in a partisan manner that does not necessarily reflect your point of view. So have a look at the websites we've posted here. We've also posted a number of reports that you can read and give you some insights on the impacts of some of these policies. One of the simplest ones we have is called Fighting Climate Change. Can we humans regulate Earth's climate? Another one is called Magical Thinking Net Zero. Another is called Net Zero, Not What the Experts Predict, which shows that the world is going to continue to use oil, natural gas, and coal. And we have a two-part report called Penury or Prosperity, What is Canada's Future? And there's one other report called When Giants Arise. And that shows that Western nations, which are completely climate-addled and obsessed with climate change, make up only 15% of the population of the world. Meanwhile, the populations of South Asia make up 60% of the world's population. So that's where the emissions growth is coming from. Do you think that any of those countries are going to make their people poor to satisfy the crazy climate obsessions, the mass formation psychosis of climate in the West? I don't think so. Anyway, I hope that you'll have a look at these reports, and I hope that you will participate in these kinds of consultations with the government and make sure that your voice is heard, no matter what your point of view may be. For Friends of Science Society, I'm Michelle Sterling.